We both did our own stunt work and so forth, but we changed the film industry.
Oh, absolutely.
The way people fight.
Yep, what's good, Chronicle fam? Sifu Quasi up in here. And as promised, today we're getting into the second half of my amazing interview with Sensei Benny Urquidez, aka Benny the Jet. But before we do, engage with me, not now, but right now, by simply dropping a comment down below, be part of the conversation, let us know you're enjoying the content, and of course we can make more of it. Share the content, by the way, which also helps me out and keeps the channel growing, and that way we can expose this stuff to even more martial arts enthusiasts just like yourself who would also enjoy it. Okay, sorry to keep you guys waiting on this, but I promise you it's worth the wait because we've got so much more good stuff coming to the channel. I promise you all that. Now, on to it. This time we're continuing the conversation with Sensei Benny about his acting career, fight choreography, and more. So let's get it poppin'. I want to talk a little bit about the movies. I know you talked many times before, but of course everybody knows that famous Jackie Chan fight that you had on Wheels on Meals, but also the fight that you did on Dragons Forever. Which would you say, do you prefer either fight, or was one easier than the other? Or
in the beginning, Meals on Wheels, when Jackie first brought me to Hong Kong,
yes,
he didn't speak very good English at the time. So he would have his interpreter. They saw me fight, but he wanted to make the fight film real. Yes. He wanted to change the way people fought on film. And so he was telling his telling the interpreter to tell me, he says, I know you're a real fighter. I know you're a champion.
Right.
I want this film. I want to make it real.
Right.
So, but he didn't know that I can picture fight. So he does some moves. And so then he points at me and like, your turn. So yeah. I do some moves. So then he does round-off flip-flops. So I do round-off flip-flops. So he goes to a hallway that's about 4 feet wide. Right. And he goes round-off flip-flop all the way down to the end. And at the end, he waves at me like, come on.
Your turn.
So I said, okay. I round off flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop. I end up crashing in the walls. And I was telling the interpreter, that's not what I do.
Yeah, that's not your thing.
But I mean, I can do it, but that's not what I do.
Yes.
So then he would do a technique, and he would look at me and say, like, now your turn. Right. So I did a technique. And so he had one of his guys with a power shield. And he told him, he told the interpreter for me to kick it hard.
Right.
So I kicked this guy. I did a spinning back kick. I kicked this guy so hard he went flying, knocked his wind with holding a power shield.
Yes.
And so all Jackie did looked at me, smiled, and put thumbs up.
Okay.
Okay, USA.
And so he wanted me to do some other things. He just wanted to see how real I was.
Got it.
And once that started, and then we became very close. Every time he had a chance, he was practically almost, I thought he was going to sit on my lap. He was so close. But he wanted to practice his English.
Oh, okay.
And we became very close friends. And
very nice.
And there was nothing. We both did our own stunt work and so forth, but we changed the film industry.
Oh, absolutely.
The way people fight.
That fight. Yeah, it's a fight to go to. People watch. I watch it just to watch that fight. Sometimes it's amazing. Would you say the fight that you did in Dragons Forever with him, was that a little easier to do since you knew him by then?
By then we already knew each other, and so usually his team, they'll get together and put something together. Then Jackie will say, "Your turn." So I go out there, and I'll put something together, and then Jackie looked at it and got his team, and then they came back and they said they're going to do this. And I said, okay, then I'll do this. Then they got together and then they said they'll do this. So that's how the fight came. We just choreographed our own stuff as we went.
Nice. Okay. And then I'd be remiss to not talk about, you got into movie choreography a whole lot after that. So I think a lot of people know that you were cameoed in Roadhouse, but you also trained Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
Yeah, I trained him at his home. I got him prepared for Roadhouse and so forth. And he was actually when I started working with him, he's a dancer.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Right.
And I was doing technique. So I started doing technique, working rhythm technique. And he was stumbling and he was getting very angry at himself because he said, "What's wrong with me? I'm a dancer. I can do this."
Couldn't get it. Okay.
And so after a week went by, I just watched him as it goes. And I said, okay. So finally, I got some music at home. I went home, I got some music, and I started working some technique with music. So I went to his house the next day. I put on some music, and I said, "Patrick, watch." And I started doing technique with music. He got it like that.
Nice.
And ever since then, he would not practice without music. So even when I warmed him up, he would put music on. To me, it was a party. It wasn't a movie to me. I said, we're just having a great time. We just laughed, had a great time, and everybody, even outsiders, wanted to come on the set, but it was blocked off just for us.
Now, did you choreograph all the fights in that movie?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. So you were the one that came up with that big move at the end when he fights, I forget the other actor, but he rips the throat out and all that? Was that your idea?
I'm gonna kill you the old-fashioned way.
Well, actually with that one, that was Charlie Paterni.
Okay.
Actually, because Charlie hired me as a stunt coordinator. I mean, as a fight choreographer, and he was stunt coordinator. So we kind of blend in, and most of everybody can see the techniques that I used and so forth. So
yeah,
it's between Charlie and I. Charlie was actually he was pretty hands-on as well.
Okay.
Yeah, he was pretty hands-on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it came out very well. It's one of those iconic movies and people watch it all the time.
Roadhouse.
You did a few other movies people probably know, like choreographing, like in Street Fighter. You trained a lot of the people on the set for that, yes?
Yes,
So it was
I trained everybody on that, right?
Did you actually get
to Goes Point Blank with John Cusack?
Yes.
Is another favorite of everybody's.
Yes.
So, but he's a student of mine, and I tell you what, he had no problem hitting me up, kicking me and hitting me up against the walls and the lockers. And
nice.
But that was also real.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem with that one. But he's 6'5".
He's a tall guy.
Man, he's very tall. So
yeah, and speaking of that,
we had a good time.
That's sweet. And then also David Lee Roth was one of your students, I read. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely.
So is it true he dedicated the song "Jump" to you? Like it was one of those songs that he's like the song "Jump," which is so famous.
Jump, exactly.
Nice. Because he obviously loved your style. And obviously we see David Lee Roth on stage doing these martial arts. Was that like really, he like came because
I'll tell you what, he was truly incredible. Not only incredible singer, but incredible dancer. And he picked up as well. I mean, as far as technique-wise, he picked up. We just had a blast. Most of the actors, it's usually the first week is hell week because they're testing me and they wanted to see what I can do. So they kind of push me in the first week. After that, smooth sailing. After the first week, it's like hell week.
Yes.
After the first week, every day they all seem to give in and say, okay.
Nice.
Well, okay, we'll follow along. We'll go with it.
Nice. Do you watch UFC? Are you a UFC fan?
Oh, yes. Oh, I mean, basically when, in the beginning, I started because they were doing a lot of technique. Okay? They were doing such a lot of technique. So I started watching in the beginning because of the technique. And plus I was working with some guys, but as time went, and then it became less technique, and it became a tough man contest, and that's when I stopped. I stopped looking at it. I stopped because there was no longer technique. It was, punch, 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 grab each other, go to the ground, and nobody can see it on the ground anyway. Even though it was, to be on the ground is very technical.
Yes.
You know, I mean, there's a really great skill, but it's not as exciting. You know, when you're stand-up fighting, it's like a car crash. Everybody's waiting for a car crash. But when you're on the ground, it's like you're moving to each other's energy and we relax and waiting for an opening. Right. And sometimes it's boring, you know. It's like, okay, even though I know it's, I mean, it's an incredible skill. Yeah. I mean, they're very skillful and very sharp and very sensitive to one another on the ground. But for the audience concerned, they can't see it.
It's hard to see the technique.
I mean, you know, if you're paying, you know, $2,000 to be in the front row seat, and then you have to look up, you know, at a screen because you can't see them on the ground, you know, they start losing a lot of their front row seats because nobody can see it when they go to the ground.
Yeah, it's hard to see the techniques. Very last question I'll ask you. Over your fighting career, is there any fights that you ever wanted to have but couldn't make them happen? Like an opponent you really wanted to fight but just couldn't make it happen?
Well, you know, with actually with Sugar Ray Leonard, we were going to fight, and we even went on. It was like a Johnny Carson thing. We sat down and we talked about fighting one another, and so I saw his fights. I said, I already know his fighting. Yeah. And so he saw my fights, but he just said, no, I'm not interested at this point. I'm still in the midst of my fight. I said, oh, that's beautiful. I said, okay. And so I went through some other boxers, champions, and it never happened. But I just wanted to, you know, like for instance, with Muhammad Ali and Tony Inoki. Now, Tony Inoki is the Muhammad Ali of Japan.
Yes.
And the wrestler ground, you know. And I was there when they fought. Yeah, they were the main event. I was a semi-event. So I fought first, and then they fought right after me. So I fought and stopped my opponent quickly because I wanted to see the fight. Yes, and so I was on ringside watching them fight, and they went 5 rounds, and nobody won. Yeah. But it was an exhibition bout anyway. And that's what I wanted to do. But I wanted to, you know, instead of being on the ground, I wanted to stand up.
Yeah, you wanted to fight a boxer. Yeah.
Yeah, but it never happened. But at the same time, you know what? I had a really incredible career. And
amazing.
I've been around the globe, you know, 8, 9 times in the fight business, and I've been around the globe in the film business. So I have no regrets whatsoever.
Yeah, no, you've had an amazing career, sir. I appreciate it so much. So Sensei Benny the Jet, and now you're just you're doing a lot of seminars and things like that, and still teaching on the side. This is what do you do?
Well, right now, actually, for the last 7 years, I've been designing a new equipment because most of the fighters are getting injured before they even fight. A lot of the actors can't afford to get hit. A lot of doctors and lawyers are, you know, they can't afford to get cut and go, you know, go in court with a black eye and stuff. Right. So I've been working on new equipment to help prevent sports injuries, and plus I'm in the middle of my documentary right now. Oh, okay. And yeah, so I'm right in the midst of it, and then after that I'll go right into a movie.
That sounds amazing. So we'll look forward to the documentary and everything else. And obviously people want to find you. They can do so probably on social media and things like that. Keep up with you.
Absolutely. Hey, just hook up on BennyTheJet.com.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, sir, for doing this. I appreciate you. So there he is. There he was. Sensei Benny the Jet in the house. A true legend in the game. And I hope you guys enjoyed this time. Please do share to get this video out to even more martial arts enthusiasts like yourself. Follow me on all of our social media sites here, and everywhere. And if you'd like to be the one to support the channel in a special way, I'll drop that Patreon link right over here. And there, by the way, is where you can find even more exclusive content.
Yeah, Negro, that's all you had to say.
Now, special thanks again to Sensei Benny the Jet for being a part of this video.
This is the Benny the Jet, and you've been watching Kung Fu Chronicles.
And for even more interviews that you guys might enjoy, like say the one I did with Master Don the Dragon Wilson, I'll leave that video right over here for you to check out. All right, guys, stay safe. See you in the next round, and keep punching.
Roadhouse.